Hello, this is Susie. I'm going to show you guys how I put the card together. I showed in the last video how I did the stamping and what dies and embossing folders that I used, and what which inks that I used for the stamps also. So in this video I'm going to show you guys how I put it together. My centerpiece is going to be a little different because I messed up my other one, but anyway, but that's alright. And then I used sorry, trying to think here. I used this glue pen, fine glue tip pen from Martha Stewart, and I went over all the raised areas on this, and then used embossing powder on it and heat set it, and it did great. This is the embossing powder that I used. So it's stamp stuff, embossing powder, and it's blushing pink pastel, opaque. The ribbon that I used, I just got this from the dollar store. It's sheer ribbon, and just tied a little bow. Okay, and so because I embossed several aspects to the card, I'm going to use a wet glue to adhere it together, because otherwise I don't think it would get a very good contact. I don't think it would hold up very well. Okay, so this is the first layer I did. And I am using Aleene's tacky glue, and then I have it in one of these fine tip applicators. I know I was talking to Bobby about that, and she had a lot of problems with hers. I hadn't had any problems at all with mine. Okay, so I'm just going to put this paper on there to protect my work surface. And I do like a dot on all the points. Sorry, I'm concentrating. Not so steady-handed when you're not. Okay, and then I just go around the edge, close to the decoration, and then I just kind of do some everywhere else. You don't want to use a ton of glue because it will make your card wrinkle, but when you're using just a small amount like this, it does fine. And I'm basically going to try to even it between the areas where the embossing is. You'll notice I have a flat make sure that's even before I press it down. I have an area here off to the side of the card where the embossing didn't, the embossing folder wasn't big enough to cover the whole thing, so I used that side area for decoration for the pink, little pink crystals that I put on the side. And what I like to do, I like to use my my big clear block and set that there to hold it flat. Okay, I'm going to pause this just for a second till this layer gets dry. Okay, and then the next layer was this one, and again I used the, oh, and also too, the Aleene's Tacky Glue is so thick that it won't go through this fine applicator very well. So what I did was I added just a little bit of water to thin it out, just enough to where it would come out of the tip. Okay. Alrighty, and get that centered. And you want to get it just right before you push any of it down. That way you have a little bit more time to work with it. If you were to press it right away and you were a little bit off or crooked, then it would be next to impossible. I mean, you trash your card trying to get it off of there to straighten it out. Okay, and then this one. And I don't know the name of the paper that I used. I actually got this in a lot on eBay, and it wasn't packaged, so I don't know what the brand is or anything like that, so I'm sorry about that. I basically just used 3 different shades of blue in the same type of blue, same tone, I guess. Kind of a blue-gray, and then apologize, it's been a little while since I got a video up. I've actually tried to get this video done several times and have kept having to start over because for one reason or another, one time I thought I was recording and it wasn't recording, and so needless to say, okay, and then I did in the center, in the inside of the card, and I'm going to do that now before I put any embellishments on here. So what I did is I put the glue down the center crease, just kind of zigzag it back and forth, and then the paper that I am using is just a printer paper, just regular old printer paper. I learned to put the paper in the center from Bobby over at Crafty Critter 919, and I love it. It just makes the card look much more put together and, you know, professional, I guess. So obviously this paper is way too big, but I'll show you what I'm gonna do. It makes it a lot easier, I think. And then I just press it down. Sorry, my table keeps shaking, guys. Alright. I think I'm going to use my big scissors for this. Okay. So then what I did was sorry, I have nerve damage in my hand, so doing stuff like this is a little difficult for me. And normally it's a lot easier to get that off. Oh shoot, I'm sorry, I didn't even realize I was out of frame. I was just cutting this front edge off. Evidently I got my card base off just a hair, so it was a little more difficult to trim it off. Okay. And I like to do it that way because I know that sorry. I know that my paper is lined up perfect that way. Alright. Okay, and then and then you can open this up and smooth out that little bit of wrinkle you get. And you're good to go there. Okay. Excuse me. Alright, so the ink that I use for all of my letter word stamping, I use, sorry, telling you what I used and then I forgot to show it to you. I use Versifier. I love this ink. It gives you a much better, crisp, clear stamp. impression, I think. And actually, it's kind of a cool story. I was in Hobby Lobby shopping for goodies and I came across this lady that had been doing cards. Oh, see, that one's not gonna work. Okay, so I guess I'll need to do this one. I'm gonna go ahead and stamp that and see what that looks like overlapping a little bit. Might look cool, you never know. Anyway, I came across this lady and her husband, and they were shopping, and she heard me talking about some of the stuff that I was getting and looking for, and so she offered her help and advice, and I learned so much from her. We stood there in the aisle and talked for a good 30 minutes, but I never did get her name or anything like that. I wish I did. Chances of seeing her again are next to none. I don't like the way that one turned out, so I'm going to go ahead and do it on this one. I don't like to press really hard when doing word stamping because it tends to kind of distort a little bit. You know, you need to give it enough pressure so that you get a good stamp, but not enough that you smush it. Okay. And then I use the same ink for the inside of the card. And I went to the secondhand store today in the town by us, and I found a set of Stampin' Up! Stamps in there. I'll show them to you. They are so cool, and I'm actually going to go ahead and do a stamp. I'm going to use that set, or one of the stamps in that set, and do a stamp on the back of the card. And you'll see what I mean. It's really cool, I think. I'm going to have to trim the bottom of this card up better. I'll use my paper trimmer because I didn't do a very good job cutting it by hand, so you'll notice that my stamp did move a little bit, but it went right back into the same position that I put it down in, so I think it'll be alright. Awesome. Okay, and this stamp is really, really sweet, I think. What it says is, birthday gladness. May gladness be with you today, while birthday pleasures cheer your heart. And in the days that follow this, may gladness often have a part. I just thought that was so sweet. Okay, and both of these stamps are from the same set. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and add some dimension to this top piece here. I didn't do that in the first card, but I think it would look real nice. And I'm just using this roll of tape, and it tears really easily. And it's super sticky because sometimes it's real hard to get it off my fingers. And I always use a lot of the dimensional tape stuff because I don't want any sinking, sagging places. Sorry, I need to learn better to keep my hands in frame. And like I said, I just barely set it on the paper. That way I can adjust accordingly. Oops, sorry about that. Looks pretty good. Oh, goodness. All right. So then, oops, silly me. I need to put the flower there first before the birdie. The flower first before the bird. Sorry, I'm a dork. I need to get one of those cord things that you can watch what you're doing on a screen in front of you. Oh no. Oops, I gotta pause for just a second. Sorry about that. Okay, sorry about that. I accidentally dropped this, so I had to get it picked up. I like that with the dimension on it. It looks really cool. Okay, And also too, what I did was I took a small round dowel, and I rolled the paper a little bit to give it a little bit more, make it so that it can, it moves a little bit. And when I get done here, I'll show you what I did. I'm just cutting off the parts of the foam padding that you can see. And also too, what I did, I just fussy cut these out of the paper. I really like that. It looks good. Okay, let me throw my trashies away. Alright, and I will grab that dowel that I used. Maybe. I don't see it. Oh goodness, where did it go? Well, I'll just show you with this. Okay, so all I did was I just went like this. A little bit just to give it some movement, and I did the same thing with the leaves, because you'll see that they are not straight. So what I did with these is I did this on this way like this, and then I took and rolled just the tips up. So just basically put the tip on there and then pressed it just to roll the tip up just a tiny bit to make it look a little bit more realistic. And I did the same thing with the flower. And with these, I just put some glue. I just did a bit of glue just on this part. And then slid it in underneath the flower. And you want to put a decent amount of glue on the end of that too, that way you get a good bond. Just like that. Okay. And with the bow, I used 3-in-1 Beacon craft glue. This is a real thick glue, and so it gives you it can give you dimension underneath your piece, and it also dries really fast, and it adheres like it sticks on there good. And I just put a good daub amount right on the knot part of my bow, and then just popped it on there, and you let it sit there for a little bit and it'll dry. Make sure you clean your nozzle off before you put your cap on, or you're not going to be able to get your cap back off again. Learn that the hard way. Okay. Alright. And then the last thing I did was put the sparkle on. Let me grab that real quick. Okay, so this is it's actually a tape, which is kind of nice. So what I did was I measured how much I would need. Okay. All right. And then I cut it off. Just to go right in between the crystals, and I didn't need this thick of a row, so I just, you be careful so that you don't cut the stone. Because trying to cut this or alter it with the sticky back off is really not gonna work. And then you have another strip for some other time. Alright, so how I did this, you don't want to go peel the whole thing off at one time. Because it'll make it a lot harder to get it, it'll make it harder to get it where you want it. So I just take a little bit off at a time. And I actually should have put this down before I put my bird down. So I'm just going to lift his little wing up. Pop that on there. And then what you want to do is you want to take a little bit off at a time. Sorry, I hope that was in frame. You want to take a little bit off at a time. That way you make sure that you get it where you want it. And I actually got mine off just a hair. Oh, come on.